Ladies and gentlemen,
the most transformative sport event on earth is about to begin.
Those who are in the stadium are on their feet.
It's just a long, niggly climb.
Because it is desperation now. And there it is.
Gold! What a result! Another remarkable athlete about to write another chapter in Paralympic history.
Quiet, please. Hey.
Bonjour and welcome to day 11, the last day of the Paris 2024 Paralympics on Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. I am your host, Jill Jarris, coming to you from the Hotel du Podcast, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Alison Brown. Alison, bonjour, comment ça va?
Bonjour, we have been here 2 months and I still don't know the words to Aux Champs-Élysées.
I need the karaoke version.
I get Amidi or Amini, and I just jump in with Aux Champs-Élysées.
Yeah. That's all you need to do, really, because
pretty much.
Oh, I think that's what some French people do too.
It's the Sweet Caroline of the Paris Olympics and Paralympics.
All right, let's begin the baguette. Okay, I had an issue today, and we're gonna start this by I got maybe 2.5 hours of sleep last night.
Yes,
because we've had. Some equipment issues. It's made my editing job a little harder. I was super tired last night. We watched Kelju the whole thing because it was the last one.
Right.
And so that made
So we got a late start, and then you had a super early start this morning.
Yes.
So everything conspired against you.
Yes.
To get a minimum. I mean, that doesn't even count as a nap, honestly.
It was a rough morning. And I'm sitting at Powerlifting because our Bobby Body competed at like the 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock session. That's why I had to get out there and get up early. So I've seen this before. And if you're a patron, if you're a $5 a month patron, you got the whole story today because I posted it almost immediately. I didn't realize some hype stuff was going on, and I was just looking at the powerlifting thing because it's my first time at the venue, and the whole thing is set up. It's in the badminton venue. It's really cool. The setup, I think, is really neat.
Agreed.
And they've got this hexagon stage for where the lifting bench is, and these women come out, and they're sweeping, and I thought, oh, they sweep at the powerlifting.
They do not sweep.
No, they turned in the stupid broom dancers, and I was so mad that I was hoodwinked by them. So mad.
And because you have seen versions of this broom dance at many, many events, and it feels like the longer the Paralympics go on, the more they're relying on the broom dance as the hype show.
Yes, and it really is. It's volunteers who come out with the brooms. And they start sweeping, and then music kind of kicks in. And they're not really sweeping. They're dancing to make you excited. And I'm now very, very annoyed by it because I'm more into floor maintenance than I am to the hype dancing.
And disappointment for you, you've never seen the Can hype dance.
No, I haven't. That's the one I haven't seen.
Which I got today, and I have seen several times in recent days.
Oh, I saw a different song being sung by the AI 1924 athletes. Oh, and I can't remember what it is.
They're all terrifying, so just move on. Did you see them do Believer?
I think I saw that
I saw
once.
them do Believer yesterday. I am not a believer.
Did you do anything cultural today?
No. Well, I hung out with Rob Snoke, so that was pretty cultural.
That was pretty awesome that you got to do that.
So Rob is he's a former Paralympian. He is an announcer.
Mm-mm.
We had
he's
always you're right. He is always a Paralympian. We originally met on a bus in Beijing as we were circling trying to get and we reminisced about this where you could go from curling to hockey. And that was very quick. But
no.
The other way around?
Yes, curling to hockey was the backwards way because it's the wrong direction.
Right. And if you went the wrong direction, you then had to do the 20-minute bus circle. So it was great to see him. He was the OBS announcer for wheelchair basketball. And then during the Olympics, he was the CBC announcer for swimming. So he's been hardest working man in Paris.
You know who else who's been working hard? I think we have been working very hard.
And you have been working on no sleep. You have been getting a lot less sleep than I have.
I'm ready to sleep in tomorrow. I'm really ready to sleep in tomorrow. But we're working hard because we want to bring you a very, very fun experience of the Olympics and Paralympics that you can't get anywhere else. That's because we're independent media. And independent media means self-financed and financed by independent means. So that means we need your help in order to keep our flame alive. If you have enjoyed the coverage here, we would appreciate it if you could support us financially. We're just looking for $20.24. We've got a number of ways to support us on our website. That's flamealivepod.com/support. And if you do want to be an ongoing patron and see the broom dance video and other stuff, all patrons get a free photo of the day, which today I was flags, because the mixed zone of powerlifting, I saw the flags that were in the wings waiting to be used.
I haven't even seen that picture yet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then if you're at the $5 a month up, you get the pictures and you get videos and some audio. And there's more audio and video that have just kind of piled up that I'm working on getting through. So you will get more of that even after we get home from Paris. So that's also, the link to that is also at flamealivepod.com/support. We do have the last of the competition today.
Yes, we do. So there were the marathons today.
Mm-hmm.
And first up was the men's T54. This is the wheelchair class. For our purposes, it is the Marcel Hugh/Daniel Romanchuk class. And Marcel Hugh got his first gold of these games.
Nice.
From Switzerland.
He's had a tough game in a way. I don't want to say tough games because he's been on top a lot. He had a great games in Tokyo.
He had multiple golds. Here he's had, I believe, 2 silvers and a bronze. So this was his gold. Silver went to Jin Hua of China, and bronze to Suzuki Tomoki from Japan. Hugh led from the beginning. He was never not first in any of the time checks.
Wow.
He just went out, won this race. Daniel ended up being 4th. He was 4 minutes back, only a minute behind bronze.
That's not bad.
So I hope he's happy with the race. It looked like he I had it on after you left, and it didn't look like there were major mistakes. It just looked like, okay, that was his time today. So he's had a great games.
He has had a great game. So good on you, Daniel.
And then on the women's side of the T54, Katrin de Bruyne from Switzerland won gold. This is a Swiss sweep of the marathon of T54, which is kind of fun. Tokyo gold medalist Madison De Rosario from Australia won silver, and Susanna Scaroni from the USA got bronze. And again, De Bruyne read the whole way. There was never a doubt. So she finishes Paris with 5 golds and 1 silver.
Amazing.
There were there was a visually impaired class as well, T12 for men and women. Gold in the men's went to Tunisia's Wajdi's Boukhili, silver to Alberto Suarez Lasso from Spain, and bronze to Amin Chentouf from Morocco. All of those runners had season's bests.
Very nice.
On the women's side, gold to Fatima Azhara El Idrisi from Morocco. She had a world record. Silver also goes to Morocco. Mariam N. Nuri, she has a guide. Abdelhadi El Hardi. And bronze to Mishishito Masato of Japan.
Very nice. Last day of Canoe. All paddlers have disabilities in their leg and trunk, and the numbers of the classes signify how much they can maneuver their body in the canoe in the seats, because sometimes they can slide and sometimes they can't. For women's kayak single 200 meters, KL1 gold went to Chile's Catherine Vollerman, who got a personal game or a Paralympic Games best.
I'm going to save you some time.
Yes.
Everybody got all the gold medalists today got a Paralympic Games best.
Because they don't have world records in this sport because the course always kind of changes.
But it was a fast water today.
Nice. Silver went to Marina Mazula from Ukraine, and bronze went to Adina Müller from Germany for the women's KL2. Gold went to Charlotte Henshaw from Great Britain, Silver to Emma Wiggs of Great Britain, and bronze to Anya Adler of Germany for the women's KL3. Gold went to Laura Sugar from Great Britain, silver to Nalia Barbosa from France, and bronze to Felicia Laber from Germany. For the men's, we did VA. That's the outrigger boat that's specific to the Paralympics. We had the VL2 and VL3 classes. For VL2, gold went to Fernando Rufino de Paulo from Brazil, silver to Igor Alex Tofalini from Brazil, and bronze went to Blake Haxton from the USA, who we talked with a little bit at the media summit, but we didn't. It was like while he was waiting for pictures to be taken.
Right. He, you and I and Matt Stutzman had a lovely chat waiting for photos discussing which version of Clark Kent Blake looks most like.
He does.
He really does.
Really does look
so
like Clark
nice
Kent.
to see him on the podium.
Yes. And then in the VL3 class for VA, gold went to Vladislav Yepifanov from Ukraine, Jack Ayers from Great Britain won silver, and Peter Cohen from New Zealand won bronze.
For the last time, go Silver Ferns.
Para-powerlifting. So I went, and now, did we talk about this? Where they have this thing on the screen where they have cards with the referees' names and faces on them, and they're going to choose the referees for this.
I think we did talk about it on the show. We definitely talked about it, and I think we did talk about it yesterday's show.
Okay, that is a gimmick.
Thank goodness.
Because they're on the start sheet.
Thank goodness. I never got start sheets yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So that was probably why I didn't. Yes, because we talked about where they were positioned. So I'm relieved because that felt very uncomfortable.
Here's the pool of referees. We're just going to draw you out of a hat. No,
yes.
they need to know how to work together. Any configuration does.
Okay. I mean, it made sense in the idea of, well, it would reduce cheating, but it also didn't make sense just in a practical, functional way.
Yes. We had first the men's up to 107 kilogram final. Gold went to Ali Akbar Garbshai from Iran, who got a Paralympic record with 252 kilograms. Silver went to Asonopili Enkabayar from Mongolia. And bronze went to Jose de Jesus Castillo from Mexico. Our Bobby Body finished fourth. And this was a bummer because his second attempt was he lifted 218. That was his first lift, and it was clean. Then his second attempt was 230. He just did a big jump. He had a failed press sequence, so his arms were uneven when he pushed up. Challenged it, unsuccessful. So then you're up to the last attempt. He did 232. Again, failed the sequence, out of challenges, and that's where he ended up in fourth. I got a lot of time with him in the mix zone. We've talked we and two other reporters, he stayed with us for maybe 10 minutes.
He's a talker.
He is a talker. So I appreciated that. He, of course, obviously, he didn't want this to end this way. He did talk a little bit about what kind of threw him in the second lift attempt. So that's kind of interesting to listen to. And I'm going to tell you right now, if it doesn't show up on today's show, because I don't know by the time we finish talking today how much I'll be able to put on the end of the show, it'll show up in the next few days because I'll just put a separate episode up of just mix zone stuff that we haven't gotten to yet that you should really hear. Bobby did say he was pushing for LA. He's also pushing for Brisbane. He said, I'm doing 2 more and I'm retiring when I'm 60.
I was going to say, I guess he's planning to use his Social Security money.
That's what I said.
There.
You can collect the Social Security. He's also not had the chocolate muffin.
Oh, because he had to, he was,
Yeah.
Because if you're competing the last day. I was thinking about that today, that I wish they didn't have individual events on the last day, but they kind of have to, obviously.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
But that's hard that he really couldn't enjoy the village.
Right.
Because his competition is so late in the story.
Exactly. The interesting thing about this, the contests were really between Iran and Mongolia, and then Mexico and the USA, because Mexico had failed their second and third lifts as well. So it was really that opener round that made the difference.
And just
on the
looking
weight.
at the weights that they're lifting.
Yes.
The gold medalist is at 252, and even Bobby's highest attempt was at 232. Mm-hmm. And then the bronze medalist was in the 222 range. So they're kind of...
There's different strata.
There's different, yeah. And you've got the 2 and the 2 strata that just kind of function on that level.
But he apparently set a legend world record, according to the stats.
Because he's old.
Yes, in his age group. So good for you, Bobby. We'll look forward to following you over the next quad. In the women's up to 86 kilograms, gold went to Tayana Medeiros from Brazil. Silver went to Zhang Feifei from China. And bronze went to Marian Alejandra Serrano Guajardo from Chile. The crowd got bigger. I looked up and all of a sudden there was a big crowd because nobody was coming in the morning. There wasn't a bad crowd in the morning, but there was just like all of a sudden it was full. And they were excited because it's really cool to see somebody heave that much weight up.
Yes. It's kind of wild.
Mm-hmm. This was a Zhang Feifei's competition until it wasn't. And she started with a clean lift at 150. Medeiros was next at 137. So Zhang is in the lead. Zhang's second lift was clean at 155. Then she went for a world record at 160 and failed. Medeiros got a 147 on her third lift. So she's still in second place. And because she was clean the whole way through, she can do what's called a power lift. And she goes, I'm going to go for a Paralympic record. And she went from 147 to 156 and was clean and snatched the gold away. It was something.
See, now when they explained powerlift yesterday to us, they said that the medals had to be decided already and you could only use it for going for a record.
I didn't quite understand it because they didn't. If they explained it, I wasn't listening or couldn't take that in because all of a sudden she was doing a fourth lift and I thought, I just put it in through my head that she was clean and nobody else was because then why wouldn't Zhang just get to try another lift? But
right.
I bet you would have to be clean.
And I think, at least from what they said yesterday, you have to try for a record on that
doing.
lift. And she did that.
For a Paralympic record and got it.
So we need to do some more digging into powerlifting because now we've come across rules and things that we don't understand.
Right. So be looking forward to that. I'm excited because this was just fun. In the afternoon session, we had it was heavyweights. So we had the women's over 86 finals and the men's over 107. For the women, gold went to Folashade Owafamayo from Nigeria. Silver went to Deng Dumei from China, and bronze went to Ali Nadia from Egypt. I believe, because I didn't write this down, Owafamayo set a world record, I believe.
Probably.
And it was so amazing. Like this, the women's final was so exciting and loud. The men's was loud and kind of exciting, but it didn't have the same suspense that the women did. So in that one, gold went to Ahmad Amin Zada from Iran. Silver went to Anton Krukov from Ukraine, and bronze went to Akaki Chinjarazda from Georgia. And that was pretty cut and dry with Aminzada just was above the rest the whole time. Wheelchair basketball.
I ended up getting to both games today, the women's bronze medal match and the women's gold medal match. The bronze medal match, unfortunately, was not much of a match. China defeated Canada 65-43, and China just dominated. Mm-hmm. And that was frustrating in that not only did China dominate, they made Canada not play terribly well. And not as well as they're capable of. From what Rob was telling me, he was frustrated in seeing that China really got under their skin and unsettled them. Then came the gold medal match, which was USA versus defending gold medalist Netherlands. And USA came out super hot, 8-1.
Ooh.
And that was the last time they led.
Aww.
Netherlands was better on every statistic. Field goal percentage, penalties against, free throws, rebound, everything. They were just that much better. And they also have this player named Bo Kramer And whatever team this woman is on then becomes the favorite team. She was that dominant.
Wow.
Just when she was on the court, everything revolved around her. And she's not physically imposing. She's not the tallest player on the court. She's not the biggest. But I believe she's probably the fastest and the most accurate.
That'll do it every time.
So Netherlands defeated the United States 63-49. So gold to Netherlands, silver to the U.S., bronze to China. And you had some attendance statistics, which I loved because for both matches, it was pretty darn full and pretty darn loud.
Yes. So they have been posting some attendance statistics more for team matches or where it's possible. For the gold medal match, the audience count was 12,629. That is 97% capacity for Bercy Arena. Bercy is just over 13,000. So that is incredible.
I mean, every time I went there, there was a lot of people.
Exactly. And so for the men's tournament, the total capacity was 92%. Women had 90% capacity. That is really good considering how ticket sales were ahead of the Olympics.
And also, a lot of those matches were weekdays. I mean, yes, a good number of them were in the evenings, but still weeknights, and school has started. And then there was all those weekday matches. So to get the 90% is really impressive and says a lot to how what we've said repeatedly over the past couple of weeks, Paris seems to have really bought in.
Yes, they really have. They understand the sport. They're excited to get to cheer for somebody, usually a French person. But if they get to cheer and sing the Marseillaise and all of that jazz, they're happy.
Yeah, there was a lot of Alele Bleu today at wheelchair basketball. And there are no French playing, but they don't care. They want to cheer.
And that wraps up all the competition. So if you're a medal person, China was on top of the medals by far.
Yes. And Great Britain was second, which surprised me a little bit.
It doesn't surprise me because the movement started in Great Britain. So I think there's always going to be a tradition there. And then USA got third.
USA was third. France got a total of 76 medals.
Excellent.
Which is nothing to shake a stick at.
Then we had the closing ceremony.
So we did not get to go to the closing ceremony in person. I think there was an admin snafu in the ticket distribution. So we didn't get our stickers.
Right. And the other problem is that the National Paralympic Committees get their allocations, and then it's up to them to distribute them to us. They told us, Team USA told us, here are the hours you can pick up your stickers, and they were not hours we could get to because the main press center where we would have to pick them up is really far away and hard to get to. So we were both at competitions to watch TKFLASTANIs, and
during the very limited hours that they gave us in the middle of the day.
Yes. So that meant just no closing ceremony for us. But in one way, that was okay because it went full circle. Rained for opening ceremony of the Olympics, and then it rained tonight as well. So I was very glad we weren't out in the rain, even though we would have been covered.
Right, because the Tribune is covered in the Stade. So we ended up back at the Paris Media Center, which is where I spent the Olympic opening ceremonies, where you were out in the rain, and they had the same food and the same beverages available. And what was really funny is one of the product reps, they had these mocktails with this ginger shot called Gimber. And whenever they served these shots, it was the same product rep mixing the drinks. So we haven't been to the Paris Media Center much during the Paralympics. So I hadn't seen him in 3.5 weeks or so, maybe a little longer, closer to 4. So he was there. And we were having a whole chat, like, oh, how have you been? What's going on in the past month? Because they did several Gimber events during the Olympics. So we saw each other, and they're really good.
It is. It's a very spicy ginger beer type mixer.
Right.
in a way.
And then they mix it in various mocktails.
Yes.
So he's coming to New York with his family next week.
All right. Is he making a side trip up to Connecticut?
He is not, but we had a lovely chat about some things he should do with his children. So I think it just speaks to a lot of some of the strange connections that you make as this process when you're here for such a long time and intensely working in these very small environments.
Mm-hmm. The show did have a theme, which was Paris et une fête, Paris as a party. And the stage in the stade, I thought it looked like the fencing setup. So it had a very long ramp down the center and then 2 small stages on top of on one side of the ramp and 2 small stages on the other. So to me, it looked like the fencing pist areas. And
I thought it looked like an airport runway.
oh, well, yeah, it was very, very long. I will tell you that. We started off with another singer dancing on top of a piano.
In the rain, another piano sacrificed.
We had a very lovely version of the Marseillaise.
Beautiful. The trumpeter who has a disability. So let's get that in there. It was beautiful version.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had wings. I didn't understand why he had wings, and I didn't care. I loved it because it did call back to the opening ceremony where they had a character as part of the show that had wings. And I didn't understand the wings that time either, but I didn't care because you know how I love a callback.
Yes. So that was nice. Very long flag procession.
It did seem very slow, didn't it?
It did, and you know even the Olympic one felt slow too.
Agreed.
Because
I think they did
there's
the
a
big
lot of
circle,
flags, yeah,
and also the path they took was, I think, through that center runway and then all the way around the stadium.
Yeah, and during that there was like a army band.
I believe that is the same band that played in the opening ceremony of the Olympics with that rapper.
Don't look at me like I know. I was busy watching Parade of Boats. That's all I saw, really. And I'm excited to go home and watch the opening closing ceremonies. It's weird because you go, oh, I was there. Well, what was that like? I don't know. I saw it on a TV screen.
I was under a tree.
Yeah. So while they were doing this band plays Chariots of Fire.
1924 callback.
That was a nice time. And several other songs that we've heard throughout the games. Speeches. Oh. People are loving Tony Estanguet.
And, you know, I don't think anybody loves Tony Estanguet as much as Tony Estanguet does.
Ouch.
I mean, yes, he's a very attractive man. And he's done, clearly, this has been a very successful game. So let's give him props on that.
Right. And he's probably thrilled. Like, look what we did. The whole country has rallied behind this effort, and it was probably a slog because the country is also pessimistic first.
So I think he kept talking, and I think that came from a place of just, look, Mom, I did it.
Yeah. Andrew, lost my mic there. Andrew Parsons spoke. Passionate, as always.
So many languages. I love what he throws in, because he obviously speaks English beautifully, and his native language is Portuguese. He says his French is not good.
Oh, well, it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. So he just kind of throws in as many phrases in multiple languages as possible to make everyone happy, because whenever a non-French person comes up with French phrases, the French crowd goes wild.
Yes. And we don't exactly know what he's saying because he's talking in English, but they
dubbed it so loudly that we couldn't catch it. But we know what he was saying.
Yes.
He was saying, this has been great. Thank you, Paris. Thank you, athletes, volunteers.
All that jazz.
You've overcome so much.
Then we have the LA handover.
Okay. Can we compare this for a second?
Yes.
So much better.
So much better.
Oh, I'm so glad you thought that. So,
because it was shorter, first off.
Shorter, more effective. The only criticism I would have is I wish they had done that little segment with the music and the skateboarding in Paris.
Oh,
because so you could have done that in the stadium, kind of brought California I know why they did it. It was
Right.
very effective as film. It was much less expensive, much less risky because you could film
Right.
it ahead of time and
Right.
make it perfect. I thought it was incredibly effective. And when the song ended, I said to you, end it now, because this is it. You've done it. And they ended it.
They did, yes. And then we'll get to that in a second. But basically, there was a little opener montage to California Dreaming.
Fantastic.
Which featured our Samantha Bosco and our Jamal Hill. That was really, really fun to see. Then we shifted to the beach, and Anderson Paak and somebody else who I can't remember off the top of my head. They did music, and then while you're looking that up, there was a skate park there, a Bowls skate park for the most part, and disabled people were using the skate park. There were some skateboarders who had no legs or one leg. Wheelchairs were using this. It was amazingly cool. I thought, that made me wonder, like, oh, is there para skateboard competitions? And I could get behind that.
So the jazz pianist that played first was Matthew Whitaker. The violinist was Galen Leah. And then the rapper who came on was Garnet Silverhall.
Okay. But yeah, it was a couple of numbers while you watched skateboarders in bowls, and we were done, and it panned out to the ocean. And that's when you said, please be done, please be done, please be done. And then there shows another group of singers. And for a minute, I thought, why are they singing in French?
We were so confused about where that was not a great trend. It was the transition wasn't clear. What they needed to do, because what that was the they went to the balloon, they went to the cauldron.
Yes.
Instead of the camera shot of them, and you know what? I bet if we had been in the stadium, we would have been equally confused.
Yes.
Instead of the camera shot on the singers, they needed to do the camera shot on the cauldron so that we placed ourselves.
Yes.
So there was an announcement at the beginning of the show that originally the cauldron was supposed to rise and be extinguished in the air. But because it was pouring here, I mean, it was not just raining, it was pouring. They could not lift the balloon. So the balloon did not fly tonight.
Which, that's a shame, because that was really a centerpiece of the whole games. And so then the flame comes, because of course the cauldron is a light, and the flame comes in, and Hugo Didier, the French swimmer, paraswimmer, and many French French
medalists.
Athletes, yes, medalists, come and they do a little kind of relay / parade. It's like one comes and then they hand the little lantern off to somebody else, but they're all still walking together until they get to the top of the ramp where the flags are, and there's Auriel, what's her last name?
Aurélie Aubert.
Who is the bocce player who won gold.
And has stolen the heart of Paris.
Yes, totally lovely, lovely woman. And she was the one that blew it out. And that's the one moment that got you
I was in
up.
tears. That was rough because I'm going to get teary again. Because as they came up and we saw Aurélie on the stage, I said, please don't do this to me. Please don't have her blow out the birthday candle. And they did. And it was such a beautiful moment because they had all the medalists. There was no token celebrity.
No.
It was a group of French athletes who had achieved their dream at the Paralympics, blowing out the light. It didn't bother me as much that it was a birthday candle this time. Maybe because I was prepared for it.
That could be. And there was no like massive pomp and circumstance with Leon Marchand taking it from the Tuileries to the stadium. That was a bit much.
And just that focus on the athlete aspect to it did me in.
And it didn't hurt that all of those athletes had so much joy.
Right. And we had seen them compete, and we had seen them on Kelju, and their personalities were so huge. Of course, I'm sure that's why they were chosen, because there were many. There were 76. There were 76 medals won by the French team. And then the light goes out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that just did it. We're done.
Mm-hmm. But the show was not done.
The show, oh my goodness, was the show not done?
Okay, so then we had an electronic dance party for over an hour with 28 different DJs and EDM performers. Not Daft Punk, because they said they weren't getting back together. But we have heard so many Daft Punk songs over the last couple of months. I've got Robot Rock just stuck in my head right now. It would have been awesome if they had watched the games and been captivated and said, oh, yes, we would like to come back.
Well,
but
they
wasn't happening.
And
but
they
boy,
were
my
mad at
dreams
Thomas
have
Joly for Thomas
Yes.
Joly coming out and saying, no, Daft Punk is not performing.
Yes, yeah, I know. I will say this. We have said for the last 3 ceremonies here, made for TV, made for TV, made for TV. This was made to be there.
So one of the things that we complained about a lot at the closing ceremony for the Olympics was it was this very solemn, serious, story-based show, and there was no party to it. This was all party and no substance.
Yeah, they got a concert. It was for the athletes. The athletes got a concert, and there wasn't much else to it. And I think that was, for me, that was okay. If we had been there, I think we would have a very different reaction, because this is long and forever taking, because watching DJs perform is close to watching paint dry.
There was nothing to look at, and they could have so easily fixed that, because they did a little breakdancing segment, which was very effective, because it was a breakdancing troupe that had people of different physical abilities. Why were they not breakdancing when the DJs were playing? Would have been very effective. Then at some points they had decorated friezes. So they had human-sized friezes that were sparkled and in bathing suits, and it was
very cool. Mustaches
sort of dressed up for the occasion. But maybe they weren't on stage because of the rain. I speculated that they were supposed to be out there. But that's what you're going to count on, is a sparkle frieze?
Right. And lights and a lot of smoke. I think the smoke made it worse because you couldn't see anything after a little bit. And then they had lots of fireball pyrotechnology type stuff, and then some fireworks here and there. But there were 28 different DJs, and then you got the list out so that we can go how many are left. And when you got the list out, there were 11 left, and we were already tired. And we did recognize some of the songs because they've been playing here, but I don't know them, but I will say the French knew them. And
yes.
The French team was having a great time.
Right. So at one point, we finally panned to the athletes dancing, which was at least something to look at besides the DJ standing there, bopping back and forth. Except for that one DJ with that red latex swollen suit. That was weird. Terrifying. So once again, we have said this for every ceremony. Nobody tells Thomas Joly no. Nobody edits him. This would have been a great 10-minute segment, maybe even 15, if you had done like quick hits with all these different French DJs. Mm-hmm. Then let's move on to something else. Or if you're going to do this, let's have something for the TV audience to look at. I think, and we keep talking about Tokyo. Tokyo did this very well because they had those segments where it was a lot of dance music, but they had those fake cityscapes and skateboarders and things happening so that, you can get the concert aspect, but you have something to look at besides a firework on TV. Yeah.
Yeah. I like I said, I think it would have been really fun in person. Much, much funner if you were a EDM fan. If these were your people, you were having a blast. It was a killer concert, I think. but it just didn't play well on TV. And we were curious. There's one song that had the F word bleeped
Repeatedly.
yes, and we were like, oh, how is Peacock dealing with this? That'll be fun. So if you watched it on the feeds, let us know. You might have heard. But we didn't even have any commercial breaks on ours, so I don't know what they're doing.
And I don't know if Peacock, and I'm very curious to hear what people were saying, if they're just going to cut certain of those DJs out for commercial breaks and tighten it up, it up that way. Because you have 28 of people that certainly American audiences don't know. Mm-hmm. So what happens if you cut a couple of them for your commercial stretches? No one's going to notice.
But
that
overall,
was the end.
That's
yeah.
it. And
it just sort of ended in a way.
Yeah, in a way. And it's funny because I did notice that athletes had been clearing out, and this crowd didn't look like it had cleared out much, but a crowd in the media center where we were, that cleared out too.
It was empty by the time we left. So it was a full watch party for us until it wasn't.
Right. And people just were like
uninterested. Why do we need to
watch
DJs?
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like in high school or college when your boyfriend invites you over to watch him play video games.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I felt when I was sitting there. Like, am I supposed to be having fun in this situation?
Well, you can always learn how to play the laser. There was one DJ who had, and I will give him props for having a setup and something interesting to look at and being more of a performer than somebody who stands behind the DJ booth and wears headphones and kind of bops along.
You know what we skipped today?
What?
We skipped our volunteer job.
Oh, geez. Speaking of volunteer jobs.
Well, the reason that I thought of my volunteer job that we didn't talk about was because I want to help that poor kid who was the umbrella holder for one of the singers, one of the first of this little EDM singing section. And the singer was moving around so much, and the umbrella guy is trying to like shift to the left and shift to the right and follow him around.
Great. And not look like he's too into the music. He's trying to be very nonchalant about the whole thing. And none of it is working for him.
And I totally felt him because I would have wanted to dance, but you can't dance, and he knows it. He knows he's on camera. So he's trying to have this neutral expression, but he's failing miserably.
I'm sorry, I forgot the volunteer job. I would like to be in para-powerlifting. There's one person who does the wheelchair or crutch wrangling for athletes, and she also cleans the bench in between.
I saw that little disinfectant.
Yes, I know, it's my kind of job. But there we have it. End of. Do you have anything more on the closing ceremony? It just wasn't much to really talk about.
No,
I'm gonna.
I will say the athletes were wrapped in plastic for freshness.
Yeah, because they were placed on the ground level in seats before the show started. That did save time, but once again they were segregated by countries, and it was that weird we're not going to integrate. But then when the party started, yeah, they were jumping up and down and dancing around and intermingling as well.
Last day with our mascots.
It is last day.
So I want to say a special thank you to Waldo, who served on the second half, and Sunny and Sadie, who served on the first half as our official TKFLASTAN mascots throughout the Paralympics. And to all our mascots, you are always welcome at TKFLASTAN House, which is basically my house, where I promise there will be snacks and napping spots, and I will always take care of our mascots. And thanks to listener Don and Cindy and all of you that supported the Kickstarter campaign that got us to Paris.
What is our final medal count?
So our final medal count is 14 gold, 6 silver, 3 bronze. It puts us 23rd on the country medal table.
I will take that. That is a great outing for us. And that's going to do it for the games.
That's going to do it for our time in Paris.
I know. And I got to say, I'm glad I'm a little tired, so that I don't think about it. I'm looking forward to going home. This has been nice. The games have been nice. It's been an amazing experience seeing a summer games in person, experiencing it the way we did, and having a lot of amazing memories that go with that. Some weird stuff that goes with that, but I think the closing ceremony being what it was didn't choke me up enough. Maybe it would have if we were there, but it didn't choke me up enough to get emotional for you listeners tonight. And I guess that's probably a good thing. We don't need me crying tonight.
You're too tired to cry.
No, I'm not too tired to cry. I can tell you that. I can cry anytime. But are you ready? What have you thought of Paris so far?
And I need to be home and process.
Okay.
I think that's kind of where we are at this point. It's like you said, there's been so many amazing experiences. There have been so many just plain awful stretches through it. But what was never awful was seeing the competition.
Right.
Getting to see our people win or lose. That didn't matter. Seeing them get here and be out on that field or that court or that mat was certainly something I've never experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure my heart can take that too much more. That was hard. I need to not get so attached to our people.
And I will say, being able to experience the French fans, I may have said this before, but Paris ended up being the perfect host for the post-COVID games, I think.
Yes.
There's the whole concept of games wide open, which I don't know why I didn't like that turn of phrase, but
I still don't like that turn of phrase.
But the fact that they put so much they put in so many special details that made these games really unique to them. And they found ways to bring everybody into the Olympic and Paralympic movement. Plus, you had all these French fans who were just rabid sports fans, and they love their country. And I think they showed us how to cheer for a lot of people. And Paris does give LA some big shoes to fill.
Agreed. Allez les bleus.
That's right.
So, on a production schedule side, because Paris is over, but we don't go away.
That is correct.
We'll be back.
We'll be back soon. We are going to take a week off to sleep.
Well, to get home first and then to sleep.
I plan on sleeping in tomorrow. I'm sleeping now. And then we'll be back the week after this week. So I can't tell you the day. We'll put it in the socials. But we'll be back, and we're going to have a call-in show because we are dying to talk to you live and hear what you thought of Paris and how you experienced the games, whether you came here for a little while, whether you watched them at home, whether you watched them in a country that's not the U.S., and that kind of coverage. We'd love to hear from you, so keep an eye on our socials, and we'll put the day and time that we will have our call-in segments, and hopefully you can join us. I'd say... Well, a special thank you to our researcher, Elizabeth Emery. Also, merci to you, listeners, for being part of our Facebook. Merci to those of you who donated money.
Merci beaucoup.
Oh, my gosh. That's just been really lifting up our spirits, especially on some really bad days. So, and merci beaucoup for listening and being part of Showclastan. Until next time, keep the flame alive.